Now that we have our fuel gauge working with these generic built-in icons, we're going to show you how to add in your own custom icons using VTF files. Since this is a programming tutorial, we're not going to show you exactly how to create a material file from scratch. However, what we are going to do is show you how to take an existing valve material file and turn it into a GUI-capable icon. To do this, we're going to be using two valve material files that are included with this tutorial. In the data folder, under materials/sprites, you'll find these four files. Each pair corresponds to one valve material. If you'd like to view them, you can open them up using VTFlib, which can be found on Google by searching for VTFlib, or through the NIMS Tools website at nemesis.thewavelength.net. If you have this installed, you'll be able to open these up. On this computer we do, so let's take a look. Here we see that the material file is all in black and white. This is not a requirement, however it will make things much easier, as one of the things we're going to do is replace this color with a different color through the program dynamically. Having this be in black and white, we can easily predict what interactions the colors will have. Also notice that this texture has no mip mapping and no level of detail. Next, we'll look at VMT, which specifies certain flags. The vertex color flag is what allows us to change the color of the icon through the program. Vertex alpha does the same thing, but for the alpha channel, allowing dynamic transparency changes. If we look at the file, we'll see that it's simply the same icon, but with the meter full. One other thing to notice about these textures is that the actual icon, that is the relevant area of the texture, is very small compared to the texture itself. This is used for illustrative purposes for this tutorial. Normally, we'd be able to have this be significantly smaller. Now, as you can see, in the bottom right-hand corner, there are two numbers which correspond to the x and y coordinates of our mouse on the texture. This is going to be very useful when we specify the icon in the script files. Let's minimize this for now, and we'll copy all of these files over into our mods data folder. Simply copy the entire thing, and we'll be all set. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create the HUD icon. This is done through a script file in your scripts folder called hudtextures.txt. So let's take a look and check out the basic file format of an icon. Up at the top we see we give it a name. We then load up the file and specify x and y coordinates within that file and a width and a height. This lets us do two things. First of all, since valve texture files have to have dimensions that are a power of 2, it lets us have icons that aren't by specifying little subsections of a texture file to be an icon. And the other thing this lets us do is specify multiple icons per texture file. This can be useful if you're trying to make sprite sheets or something of that nature. If we scroll down, we will find one other type of icon, which is what we've been using for our crosshair right full, right empty. This loads a character from a font and turns that into an icon instead. It's a little simpler to write in the texture file, but in fact, creating these new fonts is much more difficult than simply drawing a new texture file, since it requires specialized software. Now, let's go ahead and make our new icons. We'll make it all lowercase, and we'll call it jet gauge empty. And we'll start off by giving it a file. It's sprites/jet gauge empty. Be sure not to add an extension. Make X, make Y, make width and height. And then we'll fill these in using values that we find through our texture file. And if we open this up and we use these little meters down at the bottom, we can find that the x should be 20, y should be about 118. So put that in. The width of our file is going to be the rightmost point minus the leftmost point. We already know the leftmost point, so take the rightmost point, 492, and subtract 20, and we get 472. And we do a similar thing for the height. Bottom minus the top is going to be 44. Now we can simply copy this and paste it because both icons have identical dimensions. And we'll just change the file name and the icon name. So save this, close it up. We don't need this anymore. We'll go back to our game and we'll add in our new icons. Switch this name out for jet gauge full, jet gauge empty. And the other thing we need to do is, if you'll recall, the last one was a vertical meter. This one is a horizontal meter, so we'll need to change this to HUD PB underscore horizontal. So we'll save this and we'll run the debugger on it. Load up our test map. We'll hop in our Jeep, and our display isn't there. Looks like it's time to hunt down our first bug. Quit out, and we'll begin.